you're going to get an exclusive here.
Yes.
I got called by these folks saying they wanted to do a documentary on Nickelodeon. And so I said, sure.
The Mercedes-Benz Interview Lounge.
What a way to kick off the weekend. Marc Summers is here.
How are you? Thank you. How are you?
People are so excited.
When we told everyone Marc Summers is coming in, everyone's just kind of melted. Oh, my God. Is he going to slime you?
Yeah. We were
What a
hoping.
reputation, you know? Throughout my entire career, that's what people are afraid of, that I'm going to slime them, you know?
We Double Dare. I mean, let's talk about it. Let's talk about, well, there's several things we're going to talk about today. Let's start with Double Dare. Of course, this, would you say, arguably put you on the map?
Oh, me and Nickelodeon at the same time.
Talk about it.
They were running bad puppet shows at 4 a.m. mostly, and nobody was watching the channel. And they decided, they did a research, focus group, and kids said they lived vicariously through their parents' game shows. They'd watch Price is Right or Wheel, but didn't have their own show. And so they came up with this thing where they were getting rewarded for getting messy. And they had auditioned 1,000 people in New York, didn't like anybody, and came to L.A. I was the first person to audition. They auditioned me 4 times. And it came down to me and another person. And I called them up and I said, "You're shooting in 2 weeks. What's going on?" They said, "Well, we can't decide because when they did the auditions, they had grown-ups playing the part of kids, and they didn't know if we were good with kids."
Oh, God.
So I suggested, "Why don't you fly us both to New York and put us in a studio with kids?" And that's what they did. And I got the job. And I said, "Well, after 2,000 people, why did I get it?" And they said, at the end of his audition, he said, "You guys done? You want me to do something else?" And I looked at the camera and I said, "We'll be back with more Double Dare after this." I threw the commercial, and they said that was more professional, and that changed my life.
Wow.
Note to self.
Something so simple meant so much.
It did, and there's a line in my act in the show when I say, "Who would have thought that watching TV would be the smartest thing I ever did?" But I just did what I thought hosts did.
Right.
You know?
Obviously, you were a TV nerd growing up.
Oh, that's all I did. I watched TV 24/7. Bob Barker was my idol.
Right.
And my first job in Los Angeles was writing Truth or Consequences the last year he hosted that show. So I'm 22 years old, and here's this, guy that I've looked up to forever. And then I became a page at CBS, and I was a page on Price is Right. So I got to know Barker, and he was my mentor for a number of years.
Wow.
And then, as a page, I was working on Sonny and Cher and All in the Family. And
Holy crap.
Wow.
yeah, that was like the coolest. I thought I died gone to heaven.
That's so
That
cool.
was the best it got.
Yeah.
I was happy with that. I was there the last day they did the Sonny and Cher show when they announced their divorce.
Oh, my God.
And Cher just wanted to get the hell out of there, and Sonny didn't want to ever leave. And it's 2 a.m. He's throwing a football back in the area trying to delay things, and they finally got them on stage to close it.
You should write several books over
Yeah.
everything that you have witnessed. I mean, okay, maybe not write a book. How about do a play?
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Okay,
What a
here's
good
another,
idea.
Another reason we invited Marc to come see us. He has this off-Broadway show called The Life and Slimes of Marc Summers. And, of course, Double Dare, Nickelodeon, all a part of it. But do you go back and talk about these amazingly interesting stories about how you grew up on TV or behind the scenes?
100%. I relay all that information and more. And sort of the turning point of the show, we play Double Dare for about 10 minutes, and we grab people out of the audience, and, of course, they love this. But the one thing I didn't know when we were doing Double Dare was all the mess. They didn't tell me about the obstacle course when we auditioned. First day in the studio, they're pouring chocolate syrup on a slide, and they're mixing whipped cream. And I said, "What are you guys doing?" and they said, "Well, this is the obstacle course." I said, "What's that?" And they said, "Well, at the end, whoever wins, they have to go through this stuff." Well, I didn't know that what I had a name, but I had obsessive compulsive disorder, and I was a neatness freak, and everything had to be perfect, and I could not have a drop of anything on me. And now I've waited till I was 34 years old to get this opportunity. And I go, okay, now what are you going to do? You're not going to blow this. So I went through it, but internally it was driving me nuts.
How did you get through this? I mean, with OCD,
Yeah.
I mean, arguably Double Dare, the messiest show in the history of
That's
TV.
right.
Even boogers and nose picking
Thank you.
stuff.
Oh, you know too much about
I
the show,
told
don't you?
you.
Well, I had to make a decision. Do you wait 34 years and get this opportunity and blow it, or do you go for it? And at one point, after we do 65 episodes, I don't get a mess on me. And the focus group say, "We love the show, but we want the host to get messy."
Oh, no.
So the network comes to me and said, "You got to get this stuff on you." And I said, "Why?" And they said, "Because that's what they want."
Did you explain to them that there's an issue here?
Well, I didn't know what it was yet. And so I started to get messy. But as soon as I would get dumped with stuff, I would start to take off my clothes in front of the audience. I would start undo my shirt, and then executives would say, "Can you do that like behind?"
There's kids.
Yeah, there's kids here, and I just wanted to get out and take a shower and get back.
Oh, wow.
So we do 525 episodes of Double Dare. We toured it around the country. We were filling the Palace of Auburn Hills with 20,000 people on a weekend without any problem. And fast forward the tape, I host a show on Lifetime Television called Biggers and Summers, me and Sissy Biggers, and we have an expert on, Dr. Eric Hollander, who discusses. He's an expert on obsessive compulsive disorder. So I'm doing the research in my apartment here in New York the night before, and I'm saying, "Oh God, I do that. Oh, this thing has a name." So I have to make a decision: do I go on television the next day and pretend I don't have this, or do I come out? And I came out. And the next thing I know, I'm on Oprah, and I'm on the Today Show, and I'm on Howard Stern.
I remember
discussing.
all of this.
Yes, I did all this. And my parents stopped talking to me because they said, because I mentioned that they did it. It was a hereditary thing. And they said, we don't do that stuff. And they cut me off. And, it was a very stressful time. I was supposed to host Hollywood Squares. And they found out about the OCD thing and saw it, and they fired me.
What?
Yeah,
I mean,
For having
I had cut the
OCD?
promos. Hi, I'm Marc Summers. Join me, on the new Hollywood Squares. And they made the announcement at the CBS affiliates meeting, standing ovation, and then I get fired.
well, the only
That's
slime going on
crazy.
Hollywood Squares is Paul Lynn. You gotta like wear an umbrella and a raincoat around that guy. So horny. Anyway, moving on.
Yes, sir.
So talk about the beginning days of Double Dare.
Oh, my.
So low budget, I'm assuming.
$9,000 an episode. We shot at WHYY in Philadelphia because New York studios were too expensive for Nickelodeon. And nobody there really had done a game show before. I was the only one. I had written game shows and whatever. And the first day we were there, we were supposed to shoot 4 episodes. We barely got one done because when we went to the obstacle course, the first thing was called Nightmare. It was a pillow filled with feathers. And the first time we did it, 60 seconds, nobody does anything. Somebody forgot to put the flag in the thing, so we stopped.
Oh,
okay,
geez.
Boy.
okay. And so then they put the flag in, but the kids turned the thing upside down, and all the feathers were on top of the thing, and they couldn't find it again. It took us 3 times before we actually got the first obstacle course run. And all the executives for Nickelodeon were there holding their heads going, what have we done? And the next thing we know, we become the biggest hit, and we put Nickelodeon on the map. If you get a rating in cable now at a 0.2 or a 0.3, that's massive. We were getting 5s, not 0.5s, 5s.
Wow.
And they said, I read an article, Broadcasting Magazine, which I don't even know if it still exists, but they said the 3 most important people to get cable going, first was Larry King on CNN because his kind of show didn't exist, Gallagher because of his comedy specials on Showtime,
Right.
and me on Double Dare because I got kids to tell their parents to go get cable because they wanted to see the show where they jumped into 5,000 pounds of baked beans.
Yeah.
So,
I think it was also every kid's dream to be on that show.
oh my
We
God!
all wanted
To
be
this
on
day,
it. Yeah.
I'd
you
be
know?
on there as an adult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, see, that's it.
Yeah.
I think if we brought it back as an adult show, it would be massive.
That'd be
Hell yeah.
awesome.
But when we pick people from the audience to come up who are all your ages, they're like they become 6 years old again. It's fantastic.
So cool.
Well, so Triple Dare, we'll call it. So Mark, they were paying you, I'm sure, a fortune to host this show back in the day.
$500 an episode.
That's it.
Yeah, that was
$500.
it. Yeah, $2,500 a week, which is, by the way, the most money I'd ever made up to that point.
Right.
But then we went into syndication.
Right.
Ew.
That's how. Now we have a house in Montecito, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
All right, so
The house
so
Double Dare built.
look, I was an adult when Double Dare was out,
Right.
as you were. But a lot of people here were kids.
Yeah.
And so Gandhi's parents wouldn't even let her watch TV.
No.
Really?
I was
But-
never allowed to watch
But tell them
TV.
the only wholesome show that would always be wholesome until today that they let you watch was
The Cosby Show?
The Cosby Show.
Really? Look how that turned out. What a head that, man.
Wasn't allowed to watch anything, but when I would go over to friends' houses and Double Dare would come on, I'd be like, yes, I'm over here.
Yeah.
So now I get to watch this, and I loved it.
That's
It was
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, there used to be something called Playground Talk where kids would tell the other kids, there's this crazy show where they're giving away trips to space camp, and so they would go to the other friend's house who had cable like you did, and that's what opened the doors.
Yeah, no, we
So
didn't tell
Scotty
our
B,
parents.
who's over there in the master
Hi, Scotty
control
B.
room.
Hey.
Scotty, talk about it.
Well, I mean, we used to get in trouble as kids because we always wanted to play in the ear.
Oh, yeah. In one ear, not the other, sure.
Yeah, so we would get cottage cheese and we would color it with green food coloring.
Oh, my.
And we would get it all over the walls, and we stained the walls in the house, and we would get in trouble all the time, but we were constantly doing the physical challenges. We had to take it outside, as we progressed, because we made these big elaborate things. But I mean, that's all we ever wanted to do. And then as I got older, we wanted to be on Family Double Dare.
Of course.
Yeah.
And we sent in our applications, but that never happened.
The stories of parents who said to me their living in dining rooms were ruined because kids would make their own slime and obstacle courses through there. And so one year, I opened my door for trick-or-treat Halloween, and the lady goes, "Oh, my God, you're that guy from Nickelodeon." I said, "Yeah. Can I tell you, my kids have destroyed my house because they're copying everything like that." And the next morning, I got up, and there was styrofoam in all of the beds of my, flowers and trees.
Landscaping and stuff?
Yes, and landscaping, because that was her way to get back at me. So,
Oh,
yes.
my goodness.
Yeah, true story.
That's great. Now, did you come up with a lot of the stuff after a while that was on the show?
Yes, I did. I was one of the writers and exec producers, and the most fun was testing physical challenges from 6 to 9 every night with kids because nothing worked, so you had to figure out. One day, they did a thing where they made paper planes and you had to throw it into a mailbox on the other side of the stage. And I said, this will never work. Okay, this will never work. We're going to do it, okay? So I looked at the camera when we're doing the show and I said, okay, this is a physical challenge that I don't want to do, folks. I don't think it'll ever work. But here's the deal. They have 20 seconds to get one a paper plane in the mailbox. If they do it, I'll give you my house. I said, okay?
Oh, Mark.
On your mark, get set, go. The first one, boom, right in the mailbox. They got a close-up of me, and I said, well, we'll discuss this during the commercial. Yes.
So, Nate, growing up in Erie, Pennsylvania, I mean,
this was an event. My brothers and I would watch this. And I have to ask you, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Because we would watch this and critique the kids doing the challenge.
Oh, yeah. You would probably pick a red team or a blue team.
Oh, absolutely.
And then figure out why you could do it better.
Exactly.
Yes.
But then even the individual kid, I remember, I'm like, this kid's a little dumbass. Come on, you can do it. You were so magnanimous hosting, but in your head, did you think, oh, come on, kid, come on.
Yes, yes. And the network was always very protective. I will tell you a story that I've never told, and I should probably be very careful about this, but Drew Gasparini, who introduced me to Alex Brightman, who wrote our show.
by the way, I love Alex Brightman.
Alex Brightman is the best guy ever.
He sat in this very chair
Did
with
he
you
really?
right now. Yeah, when he's Beetlejuicing.
He's Beetlejuice, and he's Spamalot now, and he did School of Rock. He's brilliant. So he wrote this show, and he wanted to do a show. This is now 10, 12 years ago, the most disgusting show in the history of New York. So we're at Joe's Pub. I'm emceeing this show, okay? And Alex was doing dirty haikus. I mean, the whole thing was just so insane. But they showed an obstacle course of me saying, hey, you got to get through there. You got to grab the flag. You got 10 seconds. And then we rolled it back, and I said, this is what I was really thinking when they were doing that. And God forbid if anybody would have a tape of that, I would never be working in this business again. But, you do things. Yes, yeah. Well, I was 34 when I started that show, okay? And by the way, I never wanted to do a kid's show. I just wanted to host a show. So the reason I think the show was successful in many ways is I didn't talk down to the kids and say, Bobby, do you have a girlfriend? I talked to them like they were grown-ups, and I would screw around with them, and they would, fight back with me, and it was actually fun. So I think that all those things contributed. But yes, in my head, I was going, you can't get that flag. It's right there in front of you.
Come on, man.
Dumbass. Just turning us on, Marc Summers is here. The new off-Broadway show, it's called The Life and Slimes of Marc Summers. It's only going on until June
2nd, a 16-week run.
We got to make sure.
You got to come.
Yeah, we all want to come.
We
And there's a lot more to the show than your Double Dare days. I want to get into that. Garrett, did you have a memory from growing up on Staten Island?
Well, it's great to finally meet my babysitter. Like this was the after-school special. I mean, first, and if my mom was here, she'd be yelling at you right now because I would say, hey, they can pick their nose on Double Dare. Why can't I pick my nose? And she was like, well, you don't have a flag up your nose. And
we can make that happen.
I mean, to the fact where I was so addicted to Double Dare, where I would bring the flags to the ball pit in McDonald's and put the flag in there and try to time myself to see if I could find the flag in the ball pit. Oh, of course. I mean, to the point where I would go to Universal to see if you guys were taping down there just by chance, and everybody would be like, well, let's go online. Let's go on King Kong. Let's go. I was like, no,
going to Double Dare.
I need to get on Double Dare.
Wow.
So
That's cool.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. No, thank you.
There you go.
Unbelievable.
I bet you get a lot of thank yous.
I do.
Do you get people like, they hug you and start crying.
Yes, all the time.
They do.
It's unbelievable because the memories that they have. And the other reason they do it, the show takes a dramatic turn halfway through. When I discovered I had obsessive compulsive disorder, I was hosting the talk show, and Dr. Hollander comes on, and I admit on national TV that I have it. So people who come to the show have obsessive compulsive disorder. A lot of them do. And they stay at the stage door and want to talk. And the amount of people who I've hugged and who have been crying after the show has been quite amazing. And the fact that we're sort of getting this message out, when I got diagnosed, there was no help pretty much. Now you can take medication, cognitive behavior therapy, all sorts of things. But back in the day when I discovered I had it, there wasn't a lot going on. So yes, there's a lot of warm and fuzzy moments going on after the show, 100%.
Isn't that wild? See, that's the thing. This show's been on for 30 years. When I went out on a book tour, and when we go out, they're like, their grandkids listen to us now. And so I see, but there's the bond here is this. When we look back to our childhood years, those as innocent as they could have been and should have been years, and connect with them now when we live in this effed up world that we live in, it does bring this peace.
Yes.
And we connect with the innocence and the times that made us so happy. And Marc Summers, you do that. You still have the ability to do that now, obviously.
It's so odd. I grew up with Soupy Sales, who, when I was a kid, he was the person who did kid shows. And I became friends with Soupy, and that was like a dying to go into heaven kind of moment. And I guess, unbeknownst to me at the time, that I am that to an entire different generation. But what's so funny is, the other day somebody said, will you sign my program? And I said, sure. I said, do you want me to mention something about Double Dare or Unwrapped? And they said, what's Double Dare?
Whoa.
Wow. So there's a whole generation of people who don't even know me from that. They only know me from the Food Network. Wow. I was there for 20 years.
Well, Unwrapped is one of the best shows ever.
Oh, thanks.
So, I mean, the premise of Unwrapped is all these
history
foods
of
and
food
things we buy every day.
Yes.
Where they come from.
Where do they come from? And, why is there, different colored M&Ms? And what do they use to make the Mike and Ike's taste the way they do? And I did, hundreds of episodes of that for 11 years. And then I exec produced Dinner Impossible and Restaurant Impossible. So I've had this crazy life where I started off as a magician. I became a regular at the Comedy Store in '76 with Dave and Jay and Robin. And then, become a host of a kids show. Then I'm at Food Network. And, now I am off Broadway doing a one-man show. So it's been quite an interesting run of events over the last, I'm 72 years old. I've been doing this almost 50 years.
Wow.
Well, let's talk about it. I mean, in a car accident once, you broke every bone in your face?
Yes, I was coming back from a Restaurant Impossible shoot, didn't wear a seatbelt, and the credit card machine hit me and broke every bone in my face. That was a lovely moment.
Oh, a credit card machine?
Yeah, when you go
You ran into a what?
Yes, I was sitting on the back of the cab.
Right.
And the thing where you...
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and the guy slammed on the brakes, hit the center divider, and my head went right into the credit card machine.
Oh.
In a life of cancer, not one, not two, but 3 bouts with cancer. What kind of cancer was it?
Chronic lymphatic leukemia. And I'm on medication. I will be for the rest of my life. They're only $15,000 a month for the pills, but
oh my God.
It's keeping me alive. I went through chemo twice. Third time I was on immunotherapy, didn't work, and that's why they tried the pills and it worked. So
So we see these people that we love and we adore and that we either grew up with or we continue to learn from on TV. You never really stop all the time to think about, well, this is a human being who's living a life of maybe being married, maybe not, maybe with OCD, or you don't know where they came from or where they're going. You just know who they are while you're watching them.
And Elvis, that's why I did this show, and I also have a podcast called Marc Summers Unwraps, and it's based on the fact that you go to a movie, a TV show, Broadway show, and you go, boy, the person on that show is so lucky. And it's like, no, they work their asses off to get there. And what is it about some people who can go over, under, around, or through the wall, and other people go, I'm not doing this, and they retreat. And I'm more interested in the people who figured out a way to get where they're going. We had Richard Kind on recently. We had Kevin Pollak on. We had Howie Mandel on. We've had some really good people tell their stories. And everybody in this room has a story as well. You're not sitting here because somebody called you up and said, I want you to work here. You figured out a way to get in this room. Not everybody can do that.
Amen. Wow. Hey, so doing a one-man show about your life, what do you learn from it?
Oh my.
I mean, it's the same as when you write a biography, an autobiography. You actually learn a lot about yourself. Obviously, this has to be that times 10.
It's an emotional roller coaster on a nightly basis because I'm up there telling this story that I lived. And some nights I get so emotional. I do break down I could never control it in certain moments where I'm reliving the moments, because if you're going to tell the story, it's got to be authentic. You can't go up there and pretend to do the story. You're telling about your life. So yes, it's very emotional. It's sort of like less expensive than going to a psychiatrist on a regular basis. And I do learn a lot about myself. But at this point in my life, it's funny. I used to go on stage. When I worked the Magic Castle, I would throw up every time before I went and did a show because I had no idea what I was doing. I am so confident now, and I don't get nervous. I can't wait to get to that theater and perform this on a nightly basis. And it took me this long to get that confident, though.
But that journey was necessary.
Oh my God, yes. I could have never done this. Even 5 years ago, I could have never performed it. The best compliment I got, Brightman saw me initially when we started this 8-9 years ago, and he hadn't seen me since opening night. We opened the 19th of February. And he came up to me and he said, I got to ask you a question. I said, what's that? He said, when did you learn to act? And I broke down. I thought, coming from Alex Brightman, that was a really emotional moment for me.
But you aren't acting.
It's a combination of things, Elvis. It's fascinating.
Okay, so I have to ask you this question.
Yes, sir.
And I ask this with all due respect. I heard an urban legend one time that you would have to, in regards to your OCD, vacuum yourself out of hotel rooms. Is that true?
No, all these things between me and Howie Mandel that have been made up. Howie used to put towels down on the floor and get a pair of tongs to take the bed sheet off and all that kind of
in
stuff.
Hotel rooms? I would do that without OCD.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
At people's houses.
None of that stuff, I didn't do. I can, by the way, I'm a great vacuumer. And at my house, I can vacuum out of every room without a footprint. I mean, I can teach you that if you want. But no, that thing about the hotel, that never happened. So. Okay. But thank you for asking. Yeah. No, all those urban legend things happen. I was doing another radio show and a guy said, I came up to you at an airport and you refused to shake my hand. No, I didn't. I shake everybody's hand.
That did not happen.
Okay, funny thing is when you arrived, I said, can we shake his hand? I don't want to make you uncomfortable.
No.
And we love you.
I was never germ-phobic. It was all about cleanliness and orderliness and, putting things symmetrical and making sure everything was perfect. Yeah. As a matter of fact, this studio is making me nuts.
I bet it is.
Could you clean that up over there?
I feel like I used to touch things 4 or 5 times.
Oh, really?
And even when I would go through stores, I would rearrange things in the store, and I'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'd walk away. And the funniest thing is, you and I talk about that. Our thing is odd numbers. I used to have to do everything even amount of times.
See, some people are even, some people are. Yes.
Somehow it changed to an odd number.
Well, the rule book
times.
with people with OCD changes on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It really does. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Odd numbers.
So isn't that weird that people have to flip a light switch so many times or walk in to a room?
So Danielle will walk into a door and she cannot leave through another door. She has to go out through the door.
So if I came in that way, I'm going out that way.
No kidding.
Oh, I have to because then you get these thoughts that
Do you have
something
intrusive
bad
thoughts?
is going to happen.
That's in my show. That I was afraid that if my room wasn't clean, that when my parents got in the car, they'd get in a car accident and die. So that's why you kept doing.
Why do
these things.
Why do you think those things?
Well,
though?
I'll send you the doctor's number.
Yes,
And
Sounds complicated. If I'm walking down a staircase, if I drag my left heel on a step, I have to even it out with my right heel.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I do. But I don't think there's doom on the way. If I don't, I just don't know what it is. I mean, I live a life of doom anyway, so I guess I'm already paying the price.
I still have trouble in grocery stores where I get fixated on reading labels. And so my wife goes grocery shopping without me because I can get stuck in a place. And, you say yourself, I have to read it perfect. Well, what does perfect mean?
Yeah.
And when I was doing the talk show here in New York, our exec producer said, "Get out of here, you're driving us crazy." I would make the staff nuts, so he threw me out. And I would walk from 1 in the afternoon until 9 up and down the streets of New York. But sometimes we'd get stuck at a place reading, a sign in Tiffany's over and over and over again, right. And you get stuck, and then you got to get yourself out of it. So I mean, thank God I don't do that much anymore. But it is still. I always say I'm 82% cured. I don't think you're ever 100% cured.
Wow.
Well, I guess if it slows you down, if it stops progression or progress in life, then you got to address it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Scary. What do you?
I just want to say I love you, man. A big fan. I got no questions for you. Watch you on Double Dare.
You're very kind.
Unwrapped. All of it. No questions. Just a few. Just some love for you. That's
Thank you. I
I'm
appreciate
throwing
that.
Roses.
I love
Standing ovation.
That was the most beautiful moment of the show.
it. I love these guys. These are fantastic.
I have a question on a completely different topic because
Yes.
you've done 100 things.
Yep.
You talked about all of it, from Double Dare to Unwrapped, and now you're doing this play. I most recently saw you in Quiet on the Set that just came out.
Oh, my.
How was that? Being able to talk about all of that, was that like a cleansing feeling to you to finally be able to say, like, hey, I wanted to advocate for these kids, and I saw what was going on?
Let me tell you about that. You're going to get an exclusive here.
Yes.
I got called by these folks saying they wanted to do a documentary on Nickelodeon. And so I said, sure. And I went there, and they asked me what I thought of Nick. And the first 10 or 12 seconds, from what I understand of this documentary, are me saying all these wonderful things. But they did a bait and switch on me. They ambushed me. They never told me what this documentary was really about.
No way.
And so they showed me a video of something that I couldn't believe was on Nickelodeon. And I said, well, let's stop tape right here. What are we doing? Well, we're doing this thing. Do you know this guy? And all this kind of stuff. And I left. Okay. So I got a phone call about 6 weeks ago saying, you're totally out of the show. And I went, great. Then they called me about 4 weeks ago and said, well, you're in it, but you're only in the first part of it because you talked about the positive stuff of Nickelodeon. What they didn't tell me, and they lied to me about, was the fact that they put in that other thing where they had the camera on me when they ambushed me. And
no way.
yeah. So now we get into a whole situation about who's unethical.
That's a very interesting. I had no idea. I was wondering about so many of the interviews that they've done and how they did it.
I never
and
met
now
Dan
we
Schneider.
know.
When we got done doing Double Dare and we had run our run, those people came in after and took over our studios. Never met the man. Have no idea about any of those things. I mean, I know Keenan from Keenan and Kel because we've done stuff together. But as far as anything that happened on that show with any of those people, I never met any of them. I didn't know anybody.
This is so crazy.
Right, but they made it seem like I knew
Yep,
those people,
they
right?
definitely did.
Yeah.
Wow.
They knew exactly what they were doing.
Of course they
a
did.
documentary about. And ethically, they should have said something to you about
Don't you
that.
think?
And given you a shot to say, I don't know him. I shouldn't even be there. If I knew something, maybe I'd come talk to you, but I don't.
Is there anything you can do about that now, or?
Well, there's a phone call coming in today at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Here we
okay.
go. This is an
Okay.
exclusive.
I love it.
Well, look, I through it all, you obviously make so many people so happy for so many reasons, and the fact that you're doing your show, The Life and Slimes of Marc Summers, is just another layer. And so, do we have more layers to come? Are you ready to move forward into something else, or what do you want to do?
What do I want to do? Well, there's a possibility we could tour this. That would be one thing that we've discussed. Doing it for streaming service is another discussion going on. But the one thing that has eluded me is actually being in a Broadway show. And I auditioned for Waitress a couple of years ago.
Wow.
And they told me, quote, that I could never play that part. I was playing Old Joe, or tried to, because they said that I played it too young, that I had too much energy and I had a lilt in my voice, that I do not come across as an old man.
Sort of a compliment.
Yes.
That's a compliment.
But, I put the word out there that if there's any Broadway producer who has, I don't need a lead, like a third, lead kind of thing. One song and one thing of lines.
You want to play the wacky neighbor?
Yeah, the wizard would be the great.
Wait, one song
yeah.
you sing?
Yeah. Well, there's a debate on that.
Okay.
Brightman tells me he's not sure, but let's pretend I can. But playing the wizard in Wicked would be
Yes.
the kind of perfect role. You had 12
Yes.
minutes on stage for a couple of scenes, something like that. So I put that out there. If it happens, fantastic. But I'm gonna tell you, Elvis, if this is as good as it gets, I'm the happiest man in the world.
Aw,
That's amazing.
that's amazing.
Are you one of these guys, people, who's always thinking, I'm gonna keep working till the day I kick?
100%. Peter Marshall, my friend who was the host of Hollywood Squares,
Absolutely.
just turned 98 years old. And a few years ago, I said to him, I think I'm going to stop doing this. And he said, Mark, all my friends who stopped doing it died. Do not ever stop doing this stuff. And so I keep moving forward.
How do you keep moving forward? What does that mean?
Well, even though I say I'm retired, I'm always thinking of ideas and trying to pitch them. Where I live, Dennis Miller is one of my neighbors, and Dennis and I have lunch when I'm home every Wednesday, and he's one of the most intelligent humans I've ever met in my entire life. We have different points of view on certain things, but having conversations like that, and J.D. Roth, who did Funhouse, and Dennis Miller, and we discuss the industry and shows and and things like that. And so, yes, I'm always inspired. It's harder to get meetings now because I'm an old guy. They want to meet with people who are less than half my age. And so even though I have this reputation of having success, although I will tell you that right before I got this off-Broadway show, I was asked to host Tic-Tac-Toe, which they're bringing back, and I had to turn it down because here was my feeling. I've hosted many shows, but I've never done a show in New York off-Broadway, and I thought, well, I got to do that. So I turned it down, and I don't look back and say, wow, I should have taken that job, because I've done that before. This is something that's all new, and the excitement and the energy it takes is much more exciting than go and say, well, if you answer this question, you get $300. I've done that before.
You know what? You have your audience, and you know exactly who they are.
I do.
And so there's opportunity there. So I bring this question up for a friend, asking for a friend. What do you do when you've been doing it for so long? You're kind of wondering what's next.
You can't
do a
stop.
one-man show.
You just can't stop. Man.
I'll let them know.
Yes, please do. But the fact that this week I did The View, I did Sherry, CBS Morning Show. The fact that anybody still wants me on these shows is fascinating. But the people who are producing and are hosting these shows, like all of you, grew up watching me, and so they want to reminisce. And so that's the advantage that I have to a certain point. But, just because, and I have no idea how old you are, but I know I'm a lot older than you, there's no reason for us to stop. Seacrest always says to me, he hates me because my voice sounds the same now as it did when I was in my 20s and 30s. He said, you should sound like an old man at this point. And I don't. He said, Summers, you piss me off. So,
Seacrest.
Yeah. So, we just keep doing what we're doing, man.
Marc Summers in The Life and Slimes of Marc Summers is going on until June. So you got to get in there right now. And we'll be there. Thank you, Marc Summers.
Thank you. And by the way, if you go to MSDARE24 as your code on Telecharge, you can get tickets as little as $39.
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Repeat that.
Yes, MSDARE, like Marc Summers and Double Dare, MSDARE24 at telecharge.com, and you can get tickets as low as $39.
Oh.
So do that, and we'll see you there.
You're on sale.
Elvis, we all are.
Some of us are complimentary.
The Mercedes-Benz Interview Lounge.